Hi, I'm Charity. Um, I'm gonna I don't know what the topic what I'm gonna say, but I just felt it was important to share my truths. I started doing a YouTube channel video because I had two people who pioneers, who similar paths like me, who is disabled, come from disadvantage, social disadvantage. Society wants people like us to keep quiet, whether they're religious, spiritual, you name it. They're all the same groups. They're on the same ideas. Now, I'm not saying every organization bad and everything, but we live in a world where everything is corrupt. You cannot really trust anyone. No one, you could pay £100, over £100 to go to to university or community college or private school, thinking that you'll be respected, only to say you're nothing, you're worthless, you don't worth to be on this earth. you know you know and no matter how much you change your personality or do whatever they do, they still won't accept you because they don't want, because 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 they have darkness inside of them, or they're stuck in this old way of thinking. It's the people like Jesus, who is the true source, the true light, the true teacher of opening the true universe that everybody's been seeking out. More and more people want to have the higher truth, and and we live in a society that's been for thousands since the beginning of time. People had this idea, once there was finally proper established, having city buildings, houses, you name it. You know, I put example like the Tower of Babel. Since the Tower of Babel, the time of Noah, people always have the idea is about self gain. Those who deserve, certain people have deserved certain things and certain people don't. It's This has been happening for a long time. Nothing is new, and that's my truth. And I'm very upset that I'm made to be a victim. I am upset that people like me, who is called to tell the truth, stand up and be persecuted for telling the truth and being real, and saying, well, you not following your heart, or you don't have the position to say these things or do things. Well, actually, God calls people things. Those who are truly called by God has authority to speak. And some people who don't know God have no idea they actually are led by God. It's a fact. And unfortunately, we live in a society where people have this idea who's spiritual, who's not, what a leader is, what and they look for the wrong people. The real people like me will not ask you to spend money to get where you need to go. I would tell you the truth, whether it hurts or not, but I would do it very compassionately. Unfortunately, there is a price to pay for this. We live in a society that says that caused a lot of problems. All the problems we have that's falling down was repeated by history and history. You read the Book of Mormon, the Bible, the Quran, any scripture, you will know, or about books about ancient civilization, you will know, or history, you will know that everything went falling down. Yes, it was a pure idea and it fell down. You know why? Because human beings are human beings. They build and they destroy. We are the vicious animals of the planet. We are the lowest beings. We could be either lower or high. That's the truth. And it makes me really upset that we're still in the elite race, the genocide race, where those who can help themselves can help, and those who cannot help themselves are looked down and say, you're a bad person. You and then the only way that they feel is committed murder, crimes, be terrorists, so they or terrorists or be extremists so they can get their voice heard, or get their freedom. Like for example, there's a lot of people who have been innocent, who's been abused their whole lives, and suddenly murdered the person who abused them. And unfortunately, because nobody listened to them, they felt powerless. And you know, or a person who the whole life they didn't have an education. They went to school, and the teacher and the head teachers and the school organisation, government organisation, well saying, well, that person's bad, and don't really look behind the scene that their family was starved to death behind closed doors. You know, they're called a child service charity for abuse, which basically just tell them, well, you need to tell the police, but the police is corrupt, right? The social service is corrupt. Everything is corrupt, and people say, well, that person who killed himself because they was abused is because they chose to be a victim. Well, actually, the real truth is that yes, people can choose to be victim survivors, but the problem is there is hardly anything available for anyone to really progress. Only for the very elite. Those who can think for themselves can provide, and even then when they can think for themselves, they are being, people like me are in prison, socially shut out, the whole family's against them, the whole community's against them for wanting progress, because it's not socially correct for certain people, the planet. And it's a mess. Everything's a mess. The spiritual community is a mess. Churches are a mess. Everything is a mess, and there needs to be order. To having an order is people to know what an order is when everything is falling down, and that is why I'm not surprised when something bad happens, like the Notre Dame building being burned, and I'm thinking, well, of course it's burned because people because the Catholic Church is corrupt. There's lots of things. Yes, my mom's family comes from Caribbean French connection. We, you know, white middle class family. I don't know much of history because I said we live in a corrupt society where where people's history was burned to death, and the certain elite societies, elites hide things, and so nobody knows who they are, who their identities are, you name it. And it's only people like the royal family who knows who they are, who but over centuries, because because they kept all their records, and then other people are forced to be slaves or victims to only know the only thing that you can have free for oneself is connection to God. And the people who find truth are being persecuted and murdered, like people like Joseph Smith. He was murdered because of and persecuted his whole life because he had a pure heart and prayed to know more about himself and find a church and put everything. There was loads, and the founder who was Lutheran Church, he was persecuted. A lot of people who find truth and want to share people with truth that it doesn't have to cost money, can do things for themselves, are persecuted. It's nothing new. No one's alone in this battle of truth. And unfortunately, people say shining light is gonna kill them. It's true, but the real killer is you just do nothing and succumb to darkness. That's the worst death. It's better be like Joan of Arc, being burned to death, to being a pure light star than nothing. And you know, people who truly change history are the ones who become martyrs. Unfortunately, people say martyrdom is a bad thing. Martyrdom is not about choosing to suffer. It's to do with being a true martyr is someone who wants to do the right thing no matter what. No matter what's the price, because they rather do what is right than succumb what other people say correct. Because they want a better place, a better life, a better thing. Not the fake martyr which society has changed and say, well, martyrdom is self-loathing, blaming. Well, I'm not a blamer. I feel I know a lot of people are victims, are made to be victims. I live in Oxford all my life, and I've seen people forced to be victims, whether they're rich, very elite, rich, middle class people or upper class rich people, to the very bottom, the society. And when I say the very bottom, I'm not saying those who people think in Oxford, in England, particularly Oxford, I say, is that the bottom class society is those who came to this country to be immigrants. No, the real bottom society is disabled people and people who cannot progress at all, no matter how much they tried. They're stuck in the system because the system doesn't want people to progress. That, you know, human beings has always done this. They hide the disabled people, the mentally ill, the very poor. The only person who really represent to help people to change their ideas was very few people, and the real person was Jesus Christ. He was the only one who changed the whole thing, flipped it, and say, well, you are a wonderful person. You can change by just being light, love, everything. And yes, you may be stuck, but just know there's something more than what's in this world that's been here. And you can have more, but not the way that the world to say so. And that's the problem. The problem is we live in a enslavement society, and the opposition is Satan. Now, I don't care about people who write down and said to me, well, you just been sin and everything. My mom's side of the family are Freemans, and they overcome slavery because they believe in God and Jesus Christ. And I brought them loads of things. Even though they have mixed ideas and everything and stuff, but people who believe in God, doors are open to them. If you studied all the stories of people who who where society has kept them shut out in life, and suddenly they have all these blessings, they overcome things, they extraordinary things happens because society kept taking everything from scripture and them, and suddenly they got all this stuff, and they're saying, where you got it from? Well, God, and said, well, I actually prayed to God to me to leave this country. Like my mother, she prayed because the British establishment was suppressing her before there was she left this country before it was independent. Dominica, the Commonwealth island, was independent, and things was going down where 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 she couldn't even speak her own language. You know, she felt an alien was in her own country, and the only thing the education she had was reading the Bible at home and knowing that Jesus loved her, and 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 that's all she knew. You know, who was who was who was practically a child slave, basically working her life life because you know, if you came to be a child slave, was a child servant, I say, in her own family, you know, and luckily the law in this country said she was not that because she's a child she has to go to school, but she was forced to not have a choice to go further education. She was forced to pay, look after her siblings, and then this still happens a lot, unfortunately, in cultures, you know, of family members being their own slaves. It's a very very sad thing. Unfortunately, even family members still want to admit that maybe they're being brainwashed, and the things that bad happen to them they pass it back. But anyway, my mom overcome a lot because she believed in God. That's the only, and things got better and better. My dad was Irish, poor Irish, English, and he was made to feel he was nothing. Society made him feel nothing. He became alcoholic, not able to do much in life because of his mental difficulties, being coming from had autistic spectrum, and stuff. And when he truly had Jesus Christ, I was taught more about Jesus Christ and how free he broke off from the Catholic establishment, and the Church of England, where he didn't feel he could think himself as more access. But when he went to Church of Jesus Christ, he knew he could ask for more, he could pray for things he wants and stuff. And so my dad was very spiritually awake. It was in the 70s, you know, in his 20s, you know, where it was a dark time for bottom working class people who, you know, they didn't have much. There was tons of suicidal people. There was people who were striking every day. You know, Labour was not in power at the time. People, my people couldn't afford a lot. And my dad was able to drive when America was able to drive and everything. What I'm saying is that the only way to overcome the injustice of society is to believe in Jesus. Yes, believing in God will help, but the highest knowledge for free is knowing Jesus. That's the only way you can go overcome a lot of things. I have a speech impairment, and at times it comes out because I know God is testing people. When anybody picks my speaking, well, I'm sorry, maybe because God is testing you to know about how the thing. He showing my weakness to reach out those who need to be reached in some way, and maybe people to think more about who they're mocking and stuff. I don't know, but one thing I know: to survive in this society, the human society that humans has done to people who cannot survive. The only way you can really survive, no matter if you're really rich or really suppressed like me, who's from the bottom, forced to be the gutter of society, who can't freely go out the country, who has to have permission to go outside. Yes, I have to have permission outside. Something bad happens in support home, I get told off for even calling for my own mother. That's my problems, and I can't tell you where I am because but I'm just examining the similar things that people survive in social imprisonment. You know, people think it's in the non-Western country all these cruelties going on. They don't know the real truth that it's happening in the Western country for a long time too. It's just that it's gone up obvious because people need to be, because truth will always prevail. I'm sharing my thoughts and feelings because and I don't care if nobody listening. At least I'm doing what I can. And I want people to have hope at the moment, because in Europe everything is very dark, and everybody's opening saying, oh, there is, giving people false hope is actually not really helping them, and stuff for really understanding how limited things are. The only thing that's not limited is going and asking for God, asking for Jesus Christ to help you. And there is a limited sources. If human beings let you down, just know angels will come and save you. Unfortunately, I can't say too much because of mankind done to me. My own family couldn't believe in me, the things I shared, and now I got sectioned for a few years because and stuff and which is not just me. A lot of people who has spiritually awakened has been turned and say you need to take some medication and stuff, and well, actually there's nothing wrong with me. Yes, I'm blessed because the world is very terrible, it's very polluted. The human beings has beaten me physically, mentally, emotionally. The only reason why I'm alive because I believe in Jesus. I believe in Jesus, and 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 angels has come in my life to help me in many ways, and that's all I can say. Now, I don't care if you don't believe me or not, but what I'm saying is that this is that society will not really help you. Society is designed to destroy people. There is what's going on in the world right now is though people if when people want to succeed, they have to sell their soul in some form, and those who are truly like me may be forever going to be poor because of course I would like to have money. I would like to help people out of this terrible situation they're in. If I have children, I want to create to them to be far away from the public establishment, because what happened to me, the history of my family. I want to open a community of people who have similar ideas, similar beliefs, and who is not going to go against the government because governments are always going to be there. until Jesus Christ will come and set things order. I'm sorry to tell you this, but you cannot stop the war of what's happening. The only thing you can do is probably prevent it for a while, but unfortunately you cannot stop the Holocaust that's happening. You cannot stop having the war with the Muslims and stuff. All of them. If you follow the prophecy, reading the Bible in the Book of Mormon prophecy, you will know. And in the document come, there is a prophecy. There is prophecy where the Muslims that there is that in the last days of civilization, there's going to be a spiritual war, and the only way, and civilizations get destroyed and hurricanes and stuff. Jesus even said this. The only way people are going to survive is through higher power. Yes, you can prepare as you want, and it does help, but at the same time, you cannot prevent bad things happen. I've tried. I've seen things I knew my mom was going to have cancer because of all the scientists and studying books and stuff, and knowing and sensing at an early age that this world is very polluted. I was bullied when I was a toddler, for goodness sake. And I'm one of those people who's been very highly intelligent from an early age. Unfortunately, society don't believe in people like me being and stuff because I didn't talk or think I was slow learner. There's no such thing as slow learners. The only slow learners are people who selectively. There's different types of learners, and some people it takes them a long time to understand. Yes, that's true, but at the same time, people who made to feel that I've been called slowness and feel the slowness because but really they learn faster in other things because the things that really matters to them they will learn faster, and the things that because everybody is slow learners in some ways. That's all I can say. The people who persecute me and look down on me, who thought they're faster and stuff, don't understand that the real things that really matters for me, maybe I'm not meant to write for the rest of my life. Maybe I'm not meant to be rich. Maybe I'm not meant to be in university to learn academically fast, like the thing. But I'm fast when it comes to things that are really important. Information comes fast to me in my own way, my own things. People are so made to be slow learners because they are forced to be in one way of learning, one way of thinking. What socially is that everybody's fast in some things and slow in other things. But the real slow learners are the people who do not want to accept change, new ideas, new and slowly slow learners of the heart and the mind and the soul. They do not want to accept things. And Jesus taught that very clearly, that the real slow learners are those who do not want to accept the real higher self of truth in any aspect, physically, mentally, and spiritually, and of the heart and the mind. People who real fast learners are those who are willing to learn and accept things. But as I said, mankind's philosophy is falling down. People who do not know God is prophesying every day now on YouTube. There've been videos for years and years of stuff. before, if you follow history, the pattern of society fall down is people, common people. Even you notice, like there's TV shows and films that it's always the homeless person or the crazy person who says it's end of the world, civilization's broken, or someone who they think, oh, they're not very smart and bright, but they tell people saying, oh, there's gonna be a hurricane, prepare, right? And then suddenly the people mock are the ones who wish they did listen to that person, because the person is maybe a simple person. A true person who is simple is someone who's an outcast. The people in society of outcasts have always been the ones who tell people about things, and it's only, oh, it's funny, right? It's really funny in some ways. I'm not being horrible or anything, but it's funny because that's how it is. If we want to survive from this fallen society, or the so-called end of world, what I felt the form of the new world that's coming, the reform of the Garden of Eden, or Zion, or those of trying to um recreate um I can't remember the scientist word, which I used to watch, you know um recreate is this ideal world where everybody's quality and everybody's shared and stuff. Well, they don't know that they're trying to prepare when Jesus will reign and calm the earth. What I mean by that, where there'll be no such thing as royalty. The only such thing as royalty is that everybody is a royal person. Everybody is king and queens and princess. Everybody is. There will be no such things poor, sick, or anything. This is actually a real thing. But the thing is, though, us human beings, we can't deal with that. We're not pure-hearted yet. We're not the thing. The socialists has tried to do that, and what happened? Look at the Socialist Party, the Communist Party. They've had first it was a pure idea, and then being a bad idea. You know why? Because they didn't. It didn't work because they didn't have the true leader. The true leader was God, and the only person who represented the earth who was true leader was Jesus. And and though, I mean, before he was born, people was connected to Jesus before he came into this earth. They had a high connection. And it's only those who really wanted the truth would find it. Even though there was probably never heard of Jesus, never, one day, people like Abraham. Abraham, he was a pioneer of society. He was an outcast. He was going to be killed because of the fact that, his dad didn't have the priesthood, and he decided, well, he practically probably didn't mostly like to be the descendant hand, because the only people who didn't have the priesthood at the time, live in Egypt. And then, and he had a spiritual awakening where he prayed to God, and an angel saved him and told him how to get out from the social club and create his own tribe, his own society, and the only price he had to do was tell people that you don't have to be here. You don't have to be a victim. You can come with me, join with me, but the only ruler is not me, it's God. God is going to help you, and stuff. Just you have to just be able to be by yourself. And stuff. Don't believe organizations will not help you. It means you have to provide yourself. Learn how to fetch food, hunt, everything. And it's you know it's stuff, and people manage to do that for a while, and then once everything's all settled, they forget God, and then the next generation, it's a pattern. This is a pattern of what happens to civilization. We get lazy. We think, oh, everything's good, and then we're over. So, but as I said, it's actually a good thing to be an outcast. It's a good thing to not be accepted. Things didn't work out because you didn't make it in university. It's a good thing because you know that it's all fake. It's all fake. We're here to be set up to fail in society. The people who end up being homeless realizing, well, how bad and corrupt society was, and how I met a woman who was rich in a mental hospital, and and she, and to be honest with you, I think she deserved it because she needed to realize how injustice things. She kept complaining, shouting to loads of people and saying how unjust everything. Oh, the Queen was here and everything. And then, yes, it was a fancy, well-built mental hospital for women, but it was terrible because she needed to realize that her money was nothing. All her friends, so-called friends, who could help her, didn't want to help her, and her husband, and how about made her probably think about how she treated her husband, or to be honest with you, I think her husband's really bad to locked her up just because she didn't want to take her heart medication because of a concern of her heart, that she didn't want to have the thing, which was fair deal in some ways, but the thing is, though, she was an awful person. I actually tried to give her legal free advice of what she could do, and she didn't want to listen to me because I was willing to even use my phone to her when she was not allowed to use a phone, and I was thinking, well, because I was white and lower class, she didn't want nothing to do with me, right? But the girl was white and middle class, who was the same age as me, she would want to listen, and she didn't have the qualifications like I had. She was not low disadvantaged. I know how to overcome the disadvantages of life. I survived. I knew how to read when everybody gave up and me able to read, because God, I prayed to God to help me to read. And people don't believe me. That doesn't make sense. Saying you're dyslexic, right? But you can read, but how come you can't write? Because the fact that I just was not able. I tried, but things didn't work out, and it's not because I'm lazy. Maybe I'm not meant to. And there's others, because of the system, mess you up. You can choose to have tried to go further education, but for free, and the teachers just don't turn up. You go to somewhere else, and you have to choose between the job or by the time you're in a certain age, or your dad yells at you for the fact that why, especially school, you still can't write. And I said, well, because they're not qualified. The government doesn't allow people to and I had a real teacher who could teach me to write, but she was really, couldn't afford to, so the only way I how it was from highest source. The true highest source was God through Jesus, that I was able to write, to read, and determined to write a few sentences. Even then, I still have trouble in reading sometimes, because I don't have the highest being. But I always try to learn every day to stuff. But in having parents who are disabled, who's from a bottom class society, I'm pretty smart compared to most people and stuff, and I'm less bitter. Now, I'm not being arrogant, but I'm just being honest. That, and I try to explain people, if they want to overcome things, they need to ask God to help them to be knowledge and stuff, because this world will not give it to you. And anybody who gives you free is because God is giving them the heart to help you. And or maybe they'll just temporarily be your friend that one day, but doesn't mean that they understand, relate you, because God just gave them the heart that one day to help you. You can't worship human beings, because I'm sorry, but you can't. The only thing you should worship is God. He's the only thing to trust, the only being. And by the way, I believe God is man and woman who are one union. It's just that we live in a society where a lot of truth has been taken away for good reasons, because human beings, we destroy things, we take a lot of truth, but when people who want to know truth will be revealed to them. Well, it's not in the dark, actually. You don't have to pay to way to find truth. Truth will be for free for you. And if humans let you down, God will provide for you another way. God will always find a way for you. I'm very fortunate I've never been homeless, slept on the street. Yes, I have been homeless in many forms, psychologically, mentally, emotionally, in some way. But I said, and yes, why am I believing God when I'm stuck in a care home, government facility, and I'm owned by the government? I'm a slave. I'm a property with still my parents. I'm a 30-year-old plus woman, and who has no say in. I'm not allowed to have a credit card. I have to have permission. I have limited resources to do free. I'm limited, you know. I can't even have a relationship with anybody because I have to be approved with the government guardianship I'm in, with you know and that but you know but I'm free. I'm only free here. Anybody can slave me physically, but mentally in here I'm a free person, because nobody can stop the true source inside of me. They can drug me as much as they like, but I still get higher knowledge and understanding. There are people who are in comas and they're getting all this truth, and then when they wake up, they tell people what was happening. They write books. There once was atheist, and then there was this man who's a scientist, who was a top world surgeon, and then he had an RSA that could have died, and he now wrote a book. It's in mid 2000, and now can say, I believe in God now, and which he probably made fun now. He probably lost his job or something, but basically there are loads of people who are forced to spiritually awake. People who truly will awaken will tell you the whole thing. But unfortunately, if you want to know more, you have to let go with mankind's philosophy, what is being taught to you in your homes and stuff, and only ask God if it's true, if I want to know more, and it will reveal to you. Don't believe in me, believe in God. Ask God to say, is Charity telling the truth? Is it's any, because the true people will tell the truth, will help you, to encourage you to find it your own self. And that's the thing. And I'm angry. I'm angry that human beings give people false hope and say they can help, and then, or partly help. And it's awful, right? Instead of going down the deep root of why they cannot survive themselves, why, you know, the thing. I'm gonna do another video about this, about how, about the wrong ways of helping people, because I think it's a good source, no matter who you are, whether you from religious and stuff. And by the way, I truly believe is that spiritualism is religion, atheism is religion, and um because it's the whole, as I said, because it's organization. And human beings, we all organize things all the time. Money is religion. It's a belief that you live and then brought other people to ideas and stuff. This stuff, this stuff. Even spiritualism is religion. You know, people don't want to admit that, but it's true. Because people have to have a building, people have to pay tickets to go somewhere and stuff. Real, real things are truly free. You get for yourself. You can get it no matter who you are, whether you're Down syndrome, and you only got the world, you got a low high IQ. You can have higher IQ with something. I've met people. I've learned people who can barely speak, and said something, one word. I remember this girl named Deborah who died. Now her family was very rich, and there was very generous people. I think I think there was Christians. I'm not sure, but one of the richest. They lived next door to Mr. Bean. That's one of very very wealthy parts of Oxford, and they was very generous people. You know, with and Deborah, she couldn't barely speak. She could barely move her arms or anything, but when she said something, that one word or three words, it was very powerful. Even just looking at the soul, you knew the things. I could sense her mind and her soul. And even though her body was locked, she was locked in her body and couldn't barely say certain things or do much. But she transformed a lot of people's lives. True intelligence is from here and here. It's from the soul. True intelligence comes from above, which takes you from here to here. Mankind philosophy is very stupidity. I'm sorry, but it's you could you go to university and people think they're going to be smart. Well, actually, they end up being stupid because they go around telling people how to change their life, how to do this and that, but yet they have no understanding how, when bad things happen, they can't deal with it. You know why? Because they don't have true knowledge. The only way people survive is through the highest source that's not that's not in this realm. It's the outside. It will come and teach you all the things you need to know, all the things that will think, and it's coming from light, the true light, that who we are inside. I know a lot of people who think know what love is, who go around saving animals and whatever, and they don't know what real love is until that's really, really spiritually awakened and really know their creator, their true master. And then they will know that they don't really know anything. They don't know anything. And say, well, the only reason I know these things because I come from a higher source. They will say, don't worship me, worship the highest realm, not from me. Angels, you met an angel from God, they will say to you, a true angel will say, do not worship me, worship the highest source. The highest master, the key, thing, and it's stuff, and they all represent light. The opposition of darkness will tell people that it's all about look down on this person because they cannot get it, or you that person brought itself from himself. Bad things happen to other people. Bad things happen to other people because they brought it themselves, which is partly true, but it's partly not true. I have to go in another video about this as well. But basically, that's the difference between light and darkness. So to know you're getting information from light, you know where that you won't. It's not means about looking down a person, and yes, you might have to say things you know that will probably not really acceptable to everybody else, but you know that it's in good intention, true heart, because you know it's going to bring that person freedom. Because a real enemy will tell you things you like, will not get you out from your comfort zone. They will say to feed the ego, the pride. Saying you don't need to change. You don't need to do anything. Yes, there's only one true source. There's no other sources there. You know, with the true source of light will tell you there's loads of knowledge, unlimited knowledge. Just that unfortunately human beings makes things so limited there's only access to things, and if you want to know more you have to ask for more from the highest source, and that source will come and get you more and more and more and more. And people, all the real spiritual teachers in the world has asked God and said, God, tell me what to know more, because I want more. I want more and more and more. And God would never say no. God would never say no, no matter who you are, whether you're mentally disabled. It doesn't care about where you came from, how limited you are, how disabled you are. He doesn't care. All he cares is that he will grant you what you need and want. And if it doesn't come, it's because of a reason. And he will give you the answer. He will give you an answer. There's stuff. But the difference with the darkness will pretend there is light, but you will know the minute that fake light gone, you're in darkness, and you do things that your heart will tell you that it's bad. Your mind will tell you. You know, and don't anybody who says to you stop to use here, there's something wrong. God will always say to you, you need to use your mind, your heart, and your soul. All the three chakras, the three main chakras, your heart, your mind, and your soul. Fake teachers will tell you just to listen to your heart. Now, it's good to listen to your heart. Trust me, it is a good thing. But if you're like me, who 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 use their heart so much that it's become sacred to them, and they feel like, well, I need to use my brain to assess things because I know that if I use my heart too much, I'm going to be killed. Which what I mean, like suicidal, rejection, you name it, all those things. And it's not, because you do need to think. You do need to think, because the brain is there a reason to protect your heart. There's no, there's a reason for here, because, but, but, but the heart, the brain, and the heart, and I mean the two brains. I'm talking about your brain and your gut. Because without the gut, you won't have all the hormones and stuff. The adrenaline, the chest, like, oh man, something bad happens, and your chest closes, right? It's almost like you had a pre-heart attack, or you feel panicked because you feel not safe. That's a good thing, right? Because you're in danger, right? And that pretty much everybody who had panic attacks and pre-heart suggestions is because it's a warning saying you're in danger. Even if you ate some bad food, you've been knowing all this time that what you've eaten is bad. It's like with someone who eat a nut allergy, right? And they ate it and they start closing up their hearts, like, I can't breathe, and swallowing and stuff. There's a reason for it, right? The brain does, God would not shut down your brain if it is stuff. We would be falling apart all the time. But the brain is there to think, to rationalize and everything. And then your heart will tell you. Your heart will tell you. Or your stomach will tell you something. Like this woman I saw this retreat decades in TV show, mainstream TV show in the UK, about this woman who was forced to have sex with this man out of marriage and stuff, and her cervix got closed up every time she would think, because she, deep inside, her gut was telling her that she shouldn't have sex with this man, and there was nothing wrong with her. It was just, she knew that person was not right, because there's stuff, and she was made to feel frigid and everything and stuff. Really, it was really to do with the fact that was, luckily she had to spend £1,000 to know the truth, that really that should be following her own gut, her body was telling her this is not right. Right? So, but your body will tell you things, in different ways. You may feel like this, the chest feel tightened, you feel panicky. There's a reason for every little thing. It might be behind the scenes of the unseen world that you feel there's something unsafe, or the physical realm. All these senses, society has tried to block people, and only certain people could use all their senses, right? Like the royal family, they're allowed to use all their senses, the spiritual, mental senses of things. There are loads of people, I could say, the royal family are not evil people. I just think they're just one of those people who was called to, and human beings selected them to be powerful. That's all I can say. Because, that's all I can say. But as I said, everyone can provide themselves in some way, even if it's just only here and here, in their senses. All the senses in your use the three senses and you will know everything will be right. But if you feel bad in any way, there's a good reason. And if you don't know, always pray. Always pray and ask God whether that decision are right. And you and if you don't feel the answers, you need to question, say, is it because I'm fearing God and everything? Now I had regret one time about this. I had regret that I was offered a house when I was a teenager, and I could have probably had a little better life. I don't sure why, but because I felt I needed to protect my family from the shame that there was in, and I didn't take it, and now look at me, I'm stuck, like in some way, and and I could have got social service. My parents probably would name as and shamed, when really they're the victims of society that brought them to be the way they treat me. Not very good. It's not their fault. They're good people in some ways, but and I could have had a house, a support living house at the time. Anyway, before it was fell down, and but I was stopped because I knew things will not work out. No, so I probably was forced to move back to my parents and everything, and then have a nervous breakdown, being with someone, settle with abusive relationship because it was better than being in he was a drug dealer and everything. It was just terrible, typical Oxford life, huh? But I got out. Anybody can go out of anything, you know but there is a price for it, even if it means you walk away and someone kills you for leaving. Well, at least you chose. At least you're free in some ways, like the Little Mermaid. She was killed. She was killed because she did chose the right thing, but yet she was blessed in the end because she became fully free than what the world could provide to her. That's the true story. That's the real pure story of the Little Mermaid, not the Disney kind or what's been altered. That was the sad story, but the story was about what true freedom is. Which this is true, and I do. People are like Ariel, where they're looking for everywhere to belong and set, but and they do good, and maybe nobody else will accept them, love them, but the higher source will set them. The creator will set them. The highest realm will accept you. The celestial realm will accept you and love you. And yes, there is different realms for people because everybody's God is very merciful and in each realm of people. But if you want the best and everything, believe in Jesus, really, because that's the true source of things. If you want things, there's a price for it. You may have nothing in this world, but the next world you have everything. It's not a fairy tale. Those who do not believe in Jesus, they're never really, really healed from all the bad things, the toxins of the world. They're not very free. No matter how much they do everything, they're still not free. It's only once they accept Jesus Christ, they're free. They could forgive people from terrible crimes that are done to them. They can forgive the government. They can forgive the terrible establishments done, and the only thing they want is to pray for the people that they will change, and if not, then they know they'll get something, but they don't really want that. They have no real room to hate anybody. They wouldn't go around hating establishments. Yes, it's right. It's true. There's no real place in earth at this time. At this time, where you can't escape from any form of abuse or abuse of power, no matter what. Even the Church of Jesus Christ, there is some corruption because human beings do terrible things and destroy things. But the doesn't. But the truth does not damage. No matter how human beings damage things, truth is truth. That's all I have to say for now.